Hi, I'm Charles Brothers from Tamaki Group Limited in New Zealand. I'm the Medical Applications Director for Tamaki Group, looking after or overseeing the compliance and fit for purpose use of our product internationally within all jurisdictions. It's my role to ensure that all of our product meets the jurisdictional requirements, and it's obvious that in 2020, COVID-19 and its unprecedented impact within the world has also impacted us in the way that we provide our products. Originally, our PPE would be supplied to industry and medical practitioners, but it's obviously clear that as time has moved forward in 2020, that the public are now using PPE. It's quite important to understand that there is a clear definition between industry, medical practitioners and the public use. And that use stems really from the application of how the PPE is used. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about medical procedure masks, surgical masks with tiebacks, or our surgical masks with visors and ear loops, or our respirators. All of them require a specific instruction for use, and those instructions for use have to be adhered to ensure that you achieve the efficacy of performance for that piece of equipment. It doesn't matter how good your PPE gear is. If you do not don it correctly, you will not be getting the effective use of that PPE gear. And then more importantly, once you have completed the tasks and move out of the danger areas, if you do take that PPE gear off, if you aren't doing that correctly, then you defeat the whole purpose of using the PPE gear. And I'll give you a quick example of that. And we see this all the time at the moment. Well, we do in New Zealand, and I'm sure you'll see it around the world. These dangling from rear vision mirrors of cars, where individuals are using them and then coming back into the car, hanging them up and using them again. That's not an issue per se. The issue is how you put it on and take it off. So when we put a mask on, we put it, fit it correctly, and here's your procedure mask. Brilliant. You use it. You take it off, boom, and it should go into the bin. If you reuse it, this is what normally happens. Someone goes in and grabs it. Immediately, the inside of that mask is contaminated. Wherever that hand has been is now imprinted on that mask. And now you're going to put it against your face. So if you've been in an environment where COVID could be, you could be putting COVID on the inside of your mask. That is not the issue of the mask, that is the issue of the user. These are the small things that we must determine. And the users industrially and within the medical profession understand this. They understand the following of the COVID regulations and requirements. They understand how the CDC and the WHO have determined the use of PPE gear and also how to don and doof that gear. What I'm going to do is go through a number of questions that have been asked from around the world, from some of our distributors and customers, and hopefully answer them so that it gives you a better understanding of how COVID impacts us in reality, outside of all of the technical information, the actual relevant information that you can use on a day-to-day basis, and the understanding of why we do certain things. They aren't just there for, by heaven's sake, they're there for reasons. So let's start. Now, first question. Our next question comes from Philippa in the UK. Philippa, I hope you're well and your family's well too. Why can't I just wear a scarf to protect my face? Okay, Philippa, you can wear a scarf to protect your face. Will it afford you the same protection as other masks or other face coverings? Possibly not. Current studies, and we've got to understand COVID-19 is a new virus to us. It's only been around since late 2019. However, a lot of information is coming out, and some of that information we have to take with a grain of salt. So anything that I talk to today, you'll be able to research and determine for yourself. And you should do that. You should afford yourself the time to look at it. It's very important. Any studies that you look at, you should also understand that they must be peer reviewed, because one study cannot just be taken in isolation. You must take that and then understand that it's peer reviewed, and then have a look and see where there are any deltas and determine whether those circumstances for the delta changes is important or not in the use of the PPE and your environment. I'll answer this simply. When you're putting on and off a scarf, there is a risk that you will contaminate, because scarves are fleecy by definition and could possibly have COVID on the outside of them. That's number one. Number two, there is no regulation or requirement to determine whether a scarf is fit for purpose as a face covering. We've got to understand what we're protecting ourselves against. COVID-19 is microscopic. It's 0.1 of a micron. We can only see down to 40 microns. The human hair is 70 microns. When someone sneezes, by definition, you're seeing droplets going through the air at greater than 40 microns. However, COVID-19 can travel around in droplets of 5 to 10 microns, which by definition means they're invisible to the naked eye and you can't see them. So you have to afford yourself the best protection possible in that case. That being said, there are a number of different masks on the market which conform to standards around the world, and I'm going to cover off those right now. So we have our standard procedure mask, which is this: a surgical mask with tiebacks, or a surgical mask with air loops. Then we have our respirators, and then we have our cotton or fabric, or what we call woven face coverings, which a scarf is part of. When we look at procedure masks or surgical masks or medical masks, in Europe they're governed by EN 14683, and in the USA they're governed by ASTM F2100, and they lay out exactly what criteria that mask must meet to conform to a certain level of protection. So in Europe you'll see type 1, type 2, and then you'll see type 1R, type 2R. The R stipulates that it is fluid resistant. Type 1 and type 2 determines the level of protection from the filtration of particulate. In particular for Europe, it's bacterial filtration efficiency, BFE. In the USA, it's slightly different. There are 3 levels. There's a level 1, 2, and 3, and they do have different ranges of protection. For procedure masks, and where you're in positions where there's high levels of contamination, we recommend a level 2 or greater. As a matter of fact, level 3 is by definition ideal. The differentiation between level 2 and 3 in the USA is predominantly the blood fluid resistance. Level 2 is up to 120 millimeters of mercury. Level 3 is up to 160 millimeters of mercury. The other tests for a level 2 and level 3 are identical. They are bacterial filtration efficiency above 98%, which is ideal for environments and also matches what the European standard is. However, there is one extra test that the US does that the Europeans do not, and that is particulate filtration efficiency using a 0.1 micron latex sphere. So if we remember, COVID-19 is 0.1 micron. So by definition, a mask that's tested to level 2 or level 3 under the ASTM rules affords you a yardstick of determining what percentage of filtration you will get with a 0.1 micron or something similar to COVID-19. So for us, by definition, a level 2, level 3 ASTM F2100 mask affords you better protection in the COVID-19 environment. Having said that, procedure masks or surgical masks are designed with the patient or the environment in mind as opposed to the user. And that is because they were originally designed for patients, where a patient comes into a hospital, obviously they're immune compromised, i.e. they are ill, and they need to be protected from individuals that are working with them. i.e. clinicians, surgeons, doctors, to stop the transfer of bacteria and burdening the patient with any other adverse effects, as opposed to a respirator. A respirator is designed solely with the idea or purpose of protecting the user. So there is a fundamental difference. If you're in an environment whereby you are in hazardous, I suppose, PPE, so you are grinding, you are sandblasting, you are painting, there are a number of different elements you need to protect yourself against. The respirator is designed to protect that user. And as a matter of fact, sometimes they're designed to protect the user so much that they don't care about the environment. They put a valve on it, and that allows whatever the user is expelling or exhaling to go out into the environment, which is fine. That's what this is. So this here in particular is an FFP3, which is equivalent to an N99 or a P3, depending on where you are in the world, and it's tested to that level. So in Europe, it's under EN 149, and in the Americas, it's under NIOSH. So it is tested to that. It's using volatiles for the testing process, so it uses paraffin, and ideally goes down to 0.3 of a micron. This mask in particular, or respirator in particular, is actually being tested to 0.1 of a micron. And then we have this respirator, which does not have a valve, and is in particular tested. This again is an FFP3 under the EN 149, and is an N99 without a valve, and is actually a medical grade respirator. So this is designed specifically to protect the clinician and the environment. This has the same rating as a type 2R or a level 2 procedure mask, but it also is a respirator, whereby it provides a complete seal for the user. And let me explain the difference. So if I put this respirator on, you'll see that the respirator is in place. My face is completely sealed. When we look at a procedure mask, there are holes on the side whereby when I inhale, I could actually breathe, bringing in anything from the environment, but it protects when I breathe out. This here in particular will stop anything from flowing in and out. Under the testing process, there's what we call total inward leakage, and the TILS process for use determines whether this will pass or not, and that's quite important. So when you're looking at a respirator, understand what the testing is and how it actually has evolved. And you'll note that this has got head straps. And the reason this has head straps is predominantly because respirators are used in highly physical environments, if you're sandblasting, wood blasting, etc. However, they do also come with ear loops for clinicians who aren't in such a vigorous environment. But the key is the respirator is actually designed with the user in mind. A respirator without a valve is designed for the user and the environment. It is, in our opinion, the best, the ultimate PPE for breathability that you can apply and attain for yourself or for your family. And then of course we have fabric or woven. Now, fabric or woven, there is no testing. There is no rule. You can make it out of whatever you wish. Ourselves, we put an antibacterial, antimicrobial layer in. We have 3 layers, so it's polyester for us, and then 2 layers of cotton, cotton being against the face, and the antimicrobial cotton, impregnated cotton, being in the middle. And this will last between 50 and 80 washes, depending on your wash process and IFU. Having said that, we test for that. The caveat here is, or the caveat indoor is buyer beware. You need to test yourself, so understand what the process is, understand what the fabric mask has been made out of, whether it's got a copper ion or a silver lining or whatever has been used, and ensure that it's up to the standard that you require. So I hope that answers your question, Philippa. So yes, you could wear your scarf. However, there's a lot to the protection of face coverings than just the actual fabric itself. There's also the reason why you'd be using that face covering.